What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Strange Planet, and today's episode is entirely going to be about cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency in general. Now, there's a lot of information floating around about this. I think if you were to ask a set amount of people, say about 5-7 people, there's a possibility that you might get 5 to 7 different definitions of what this actually is. But rather than me take a stab at it right now, I'm going to let Rook tell you guys what exactly it is.
All right. So cryptocurrency is a form of digital currency. That's not necessarily currency in the sense that we think of having money but it's a medium of exchange. And so the word crypto comes from cryptography, which is basically a clandestine way of exchanging information in front of, third parties or adversaries, but it's in a certain code so that those third parties or adversaries can't necessarily interfere with the delivery of that message, the security of that message. And so when you think of cryptography, you think of maybe in World War II with people sending messages. And, cryptography is still done today in a more high-tech sense. But people sending encoded messages that, you need a decoder in order to decrypt the message in order to understand its contents. And cryptocurrencies use a range of cryptographic techniques to secure those transactions and to control the creation of that currency. It's also digital in the sense that this is all done entirely using a computer. And so this information, what a cryptocurrency is basically a sort of database or ledger of transactions that take place that are verifiable and verified by a community of computers. They use cryptography to verify the authenticity and the accuracy of the messages contained therein. And so every transaction in a cryptocurrency ledger, which is also called a blockchain, every transaction is recorded and encrypted so that you could have a number of transactions. What a block is in a blockchain, it's a number of transactions that are processed together and verified together. The way you process and verify it, there are different ways, and perhaps we'll talk about some of them later. But you have these block of transactions that are all processed all together, and the output is a code. It's an encrypted code that is based off of all the data contained in that transaction or that series of transactions. And it's based off of the previous block's transactions because that outputs a code. And so you use that code as input into this block's code. And so it outputs another code. And so it's a chain that goes all the way back to the first issuance of this cryptocurrency. And every code that's output is dependent upon all the other inputs being accurate. And so that's why, it's what's called a trustless system. You don't have to trust necessarily the other parties to the transactions to know that the transactions are accurate because it's all done cryptographically in the sense that you couldn't have arrived at this encryption code without knowing all of the transactions that came before it and outputting this code containing these exact transactions. And so that's basically the general idea of cryptocurrencies.
Well, this might be moving forward as far as where we're going to go with this episode, but if I'm not mistaken, isn't this whole kind of concept basically just based on like a belief system or more or less a confidence game? Because this is only of any value if people actually believe it is. I'm trying to see where the value comes in here.
So when you say value, I assume you're talking about monetary value, correct?
Yeah.
So before we even get to monetary value, because it is called cryptocurrency, that's sort of a misnomer because cryptocurrencies have various different purposes. And storing value, that is what Bitcoin is known for. Bitcoin is known for being a store of value so that people investing their money in Bitcoin expect Bitcoin to retain the value that they put into it at least. And, if it's an investment vehicle, then they expect Bitcoin to increase in value. So there's both a store of value, which is, I guess, it's equivalent to what a dollar bill would be. Although that is arguably a bad store of value because of inflation. You work for money, someone gives you a paycheck that's a certain amount of cash, and every year you check the inflation rate, that every dollar that you earn that year becomes less. It's less valuable than it was the year before and the year before and the year before. So if you just keep your money sitting in a bank that's not earning interest to counteract that inflation, then your dollar bills are literally just doing nothing but losing value. And so Bitcoin, as both a store of value and as an investment, are arguably better than dollars because they're not inflationary. Bitcoin is set up via a computer generated protocol that says, not computer generated, but it's executed by computers, a protocol that has no choice but to only issue around 21 million coins. There are only going to be 21 million units of Bitcoin produced.
How come only 21?
That's just a number that the creator of Bitcoin arrived at, and they figured that would give Bitcoin enough time to get established and to be distributed over a course of several years.
So it's just made up.
Well, it's not made up.
Well, most of this stuff really is. I mean, if you think about it, every kind of crypto, even Bitcoin aside, which is one of these, they're all just something somebody made up. Bitcoin,
Okay.
Dogecoin, Catcoin, you know what I mean? Calm
Okay.
Rocket, apparently that's one too, believe it or not. But
but yeah, you can create whatever kind of coin that you want. Whether it's valuable or not is a different question. And so when you create cryptocurrency, it takes a little bit of technical knowledge to be able to create one, although I suppose you could reduce it to, I guess with the advent of AI, you could generate your own cryptocurrency probably fairly easily and call it whatever you want. Whether it has value or not, that's another question.
How would anyone, though?
And hold on. So when you say that crypto is made up, isn't everything made up? Everything of value? You have
Hold on.
You have dollar bills. Those don't exist in the wild. Like the Earth didn't have dollar bills. In fact, it wasn't until I think the late 1800s that I think it was maybe in the Civil War era, either slightly before or after, when we actually had the US dollar become our nation's official form of currency. The United States existed before that without, a single national currency. And so this thing about national currency that we all take for granted, no, like things were originally like banknotes. Banks printed their own bills or certificates that could be exchanged for gold. So that was made up. And in fact, when it came to like fractional reserve lending, they were able to, not back up all of their certificates with gold. So they can just print out
as much as they want
certificate and just, make it up, as you say.
Yeah.
When you say made up, like a piece of paper being worth value is made up.
True.
And it's only the belief that people put in that piece of paper that gives it value. Anything of value relies on the belief of people in that thing having value,
All
in the
right.
belief that they can exchange that thing of value for something else.
Something else, right? Now, to be devil's advocate here, that technically does make sense. However, if I had $100 bill in my hand and I go to the gas station, I can use that $100 bill to pay for gas. If I have 100 Dogecoins or Bitcoins, they would look at me and laugh because I'm not going to be able to pay with that. So I feel
Okay,
like this
but
whole
if
concept
you
of
yeah,
crypto,
hold on though.
all right,
If you had $100 in, well, you can't really have $100 in Apple stock because it's worth more than $100 per unit. But
right,
say you
we
had
can use it as an
$100 in
example.
any stock, you can't just walk down to your grocery store and exchange that Apple stock for apples.
No, but you would transfer it to American dollars so you could.
Oh, so how do you transfer it to American dollars?
You would sell it.
What is
And
that called?
then,
Oh, it's called selling. So can't you do the same thing with cryptocurrency? You sell the cryptocurrency and exchange it for American dollars in order to take it down to your grocery store and buy an apple?
yeah, but the thing is when you invest in, say, Apple or Microsoft stock, that's a product or a service. So
Oh, so now it's a
an,
product or
but
service.
there's
So
an
before it
incentive.
was, before the distinction was, oh, I can't go down and, buy groceries with it. Now it's, oh, the thing that I need to exchange has to depend on a product or service
Well,
because
no,
products
what
and services are the only things that have value. But that's certainly not true. Go on,
to a
though.
degree, yeah, to a degree, I guess that does make sense. But I still don't see why somebody would want to invest in, say, this, which is entirely just, to me, it's got a little scamminess to it. I just feel like there's something off. Like it just doesn't make sense. And the only reason why I say that is because when you invest in, say, stocks, I feel like that there's a more of a incentive and there's more of a value to it. When you go with crypto, you're just kind of picking a name out of a hat and hoping that it's good, or you just go by what like the internet or your friends are
Well,
saying. You know
I
what I mean?
assure you, there's
They,
no hat from which you pick crypto.
I was using an analogy there, or like a imagery there, but the reality is they don't do anything. Any of them, they're just
Like you can
names.
put as much research into buying a stock as you put into buying a cryptocurrency.
But the stock has more of a purpose in the cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is just a name. They're not making any, technology. They're not making any services, or they're not.
Actually,
There's no
some of them are. And
really.
there's a variety of different uses for cryptocurrency. Like I said, you know there's the store. We first talked about value in terms of both a store of value and, as we talked briefly about, as an investment in terms of it accumulating in value. There are other things that crypto can do for you. There are things called smart contracts, which are basically executing computer code that accompanies crypto transactions. So they're self executing, so you don't need to do anything. And they sort of guarantee that certain things will happen between two parties. They don't leave it up to the parties to decide to take action. The computer code executes and action happens. So they can facilitate the exchange of assets, and they can eliminate sort of like middlemen or intermediaries between transactions. So you don't need necessarily a bank taking a cut, or some other payment processor taking a cut. When you send cryptocurrency, there's a network fee that goes into verifying the transaction, but that's it. There's no profit necessarily that needs to be extracted from that transaction. It also provides decentralization in the form of, no one controls cryptocurrencies directly. You can have, in the same
You
way
trust
that,
that?
yes, because you can actually go and view the source code for any cryptocurrency. All their code is available for the world to see, and there's no one behind the scenes controlling it because you know exactly how the code is executing. And you see exactly every single transaction that's ever been made. It's public. So, this notion that there's someone behind the scenes doing something. That's just not true.
I mean, it seems that it's not true, but
Now,
there's
now,
still
now, someone with a large amount of a particular cryptocurrency can go out and influence others to invest in that cryptocurrency. That's certainly true. And that when people increase the demand on that cryptocurrency, the value of that cryptocurrency will rise, just like, any other good or service. It's subject to supply and demand. If there's more demand than supply, the value of that thing is going to increase. Cryptocurrency is no different than that. And so, but the notion that there's someone behind the scenes benefiting from this is not true. If there is, you know who they are, or you don't know who they are, but you know that you see the transactions that are taking place. They're out in the open.
I'm not going to lie. I honestly feel like this is more of a situation where people should not be too quick to dump their entire savings into this.
No one's telling you to dump your entire savings
people have
into cryptocurrency.
But people have, and people lost a lot of money.
Right.
There's some people that lost like 90% of their life savings.
Did you see the 1930s?
True.
Okay. People have lost to stocks. Your wonderful goods and services selling companies.
When it crashed, yeah.
Right. Like that happens. Even with.
So it could happen with this too.
Even with, how do you think people who invested their life savings in Blockbuster have done?
Right. That probably didn't end very well. Or Hollywood Video.
Right.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, you get incentive though before that. Obviously, when technology is advancing, it's up to you to know that, okay, this is a dying technology like the VHS. It's time to sell this, get rid of it before, you're stuck with nothing. That's how I see this crypto thing overall ending, because it could change on a day-to-day basis. Like right now, sure, it could be up high, just like I guess the stock market.
Could change on a day-to-day basis. Yeah,
right. But I just don't see I don't like the only value so far I'm retaining from this is just based on a belief system. And this belief system doesn't.
Well, that's the thing that gives anything value.
Right, but what I'm saying is the actual cryptocurrency as it stands by itself is valueless. It's worth shit. The only time it's any value.
A piece of paper with green printing and writing is valueless. It's not worth shit unless people believe
but no,
worth something.
Apparently they both are when you exchange it to real money, real American dollars. By itself, it's useless. In both cases.
No, what do you mean? Like
even with stocks,
dollars?
if I bought a bunch of stocks,
I'm saying American dollars are worth nothing unless someone believes in them.
Well, American dollars pays for everything, so I don't know how you can say that. Yeah, we all believe in it, but that's the government's economic system.
Well, it's because the state says it does, and it tells you to believe in them.
Right, but without
if the state did not tell you and make you believe in them, force you, it's an artificially constructed value. In fact, the state is telling you this is worth money. It has to be worth or not worth money. This is worth value, or else. It's artificially forcing value into something.
You're saying with just regular.
Where no one's telling you, no one's trying to force cryptocurrency to have value.
Well, it don't.
People believe that it has value on their own.
Right, but
in fact, I would argue that cryptocurrency is more valuable inherently than a dollar bill.
What? Mark, are you hearing this?
I think the problem with this is that we're looking at it from two different perspectives. Rook is looking at it from a point that it's an investment, where just like stocks and shit like that, it very well could be. The other thing is we're looking at it as it's a form of currency. It's something that you should be able to just take out of your pocket and spend.
You would think, right?
Yeah, but that's not the case.
No.
The situation that worries me about cryptocurrency is it's easily toppled. The second everyone starts cashing in, it's done. And
that's a good point.
I understand where Rook's coming from with the whole look at from the 1930s when the stock market crashed. That was similar. people were investing and everyone cashed out. I think that the system itself, with investments and all that money, it's easy money, but you can lose out.
Yeah,
And
I feel like it's a greater risk, if anything,
with
because
cryptocurrency, I think that some people are going to be left holding the bag.
oh yeah,
It's
a lot of people, I think, to be honest with you. I
yeah,
mean, I was doing
and
some research on this, but it said over the last 2 years, the crypto market fell from around 3 trillion in late 2021 to about 1 trillion in June 2022. And that you might think, well, it's a drop, don't get me wrong, but that actually hurt small investors very badly, especially those that put their like life savings or, a fundamental amount of money into this. Because there's
Well,
been a
that
lot
goes
of
for
these.
any investment. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but
gonna hurt someone, who invests their life savings in something that dropped more than it hurts someone that, it's a drop in the bucket for them.
I mean, I guess, but just like, even if you take it back as like, this is somewhat similar to the way like the stock market kind of works in a sense. Just the only difference is there's no like substance. They're just names. You know what I mean? Because
No,
none of them
no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're
really.
wrong.
Then what does Bitcoin do besides make
Okay,
imaginary digital coins?
Bitcoin is a store of value, but there are many, many, many other cryptos that actually have utility or that
Right.
actually work with things that provide utility.
Such
Like
as?
so there are cryptos that can be used to track and verify goods as they're shipped across supply chains.
What kind of goods?
Any type of goods, whether they're, electronics or, anything that you can ship. If you secure that through crypto, then you can ensure that it's tracked from location to location. See, crypto is not just, we were talking about
The
a store of
aspect.
value or currency, which is a store of value, and also the investment side. Crypto is not just those two things. It's not just about the value. There's also utility in crypto, and there's a whole world of utility that, there's, as I started to mention earlier, smart contracts, which are Bitcoin doesn't have, because that was like the first iteration of cryptocurrency, because its computer code is written such that it can't be changed or anything. Like, it will never have smart contracts. That's the thing about crypto. Like, if it's coded not to change, it will not change, to the extent that it can only change to the extent that it was coded to allow for change. And so when you have Ethereum, which sort of pioneered smart contracts, which, is, like I said, code that self-executes, and actions can take place based on what you set up in these smart contracts. And so let's say you have a will, per se. You could put beneficiaries of your will in a smart contract. And when you die, you don't necessarily have to rely on the courts or, any external human action to distribute these assets, or to, of course, let me preface this with this has to be in accordance with law, and different states might have different laws for this, but the assets can be transferred to people through execution of the code in the smart contract based on either timing or the occurrence of an external event. And these smart contracts can be set up to verify that the external event happened. Different world of utility that crypto has that has nothing to do with
that?
Its value or it's not about trust. It's computer code that executes. It has no choice but to follow the execution instructions that it was programmed with.
All right, let me hit you with a hypothetical then. Say someone did decide to do that and put like something in their will and decided for some reason that they wanted to just use like crypto for it or whatnot. And then say, unfortunately, the guy does die. And then the next month, that currency flops.
Wrong. It's not currency.
Or
You're
that
thinking about that crypto. No. What do you mean it flops? Like there's nothing to flop. You can create your own cryptocurrency. It doesn't even have to be traded on an exchange or anything. You just make a crypto.
So you just make it up.
Yes, you could create a crypto with a smart.
I don't know about this, man.
Well, of course you don't know about it. That's why I'm telling you about it.
Yeah, but it just sounds too made up. It just sounds like whenever in doubt, just make it up, and then that's it. You just go. Like that's so far. That's what this whole thing kind of seems like. Sure, I guess a lot of people are doing it. So
if you construct a vehicle for distributing assets through computer code that's cryptographically verifiable, then that's what it is. I mean, I don't know how else to.
Because I know you have some of this, so that's why you're defending it. And Mark, I'm pretty sure you don't, right? Because I'm not.
No. Hold on. I'm not defending it because I have it. I'm defending it because I understand how it works. Like, it's not just I have some crypto for investment purposes, sure, but I also understand the utility potential for a lot of cryptos that has nothing to do with investment.
Now, see, I didn't know that there was other uses like that for it. That's kind of new to me in a sense. I didn't really know any of that. But I still kind of feel like in the end, when you're looking
where you're talking about, someone dying and leaving, trying to transfer assets through crypto. When you say the crypto dies, like you're thinking about it as them transferring crypto assets. No, transferring other assets, cash, money, property, like. This can be written into smart contracts and
it can't be tampered with.
Encapsulated in crypto. Exactly.
So it's safe, in other words.
It's cryptographically safe. Yes.
I don't like that word. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. Right. I don't like it.
You may not like it, but you would have to understand it.
Something scammy about it. I'm telling you, there's just something's off.
All right,
right. Well,
right.
I mean,
let me bridge the gap here because this is where we're hitting the wall. Steve's coming at it from one side, Rook's coming at it from the other. We're looking at two different things and calling it one. Steve's on the currency side of it, like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, where people are investing money in hopes to make more money off of digital money, which is a whole belief system based on who's investing in it and who's cashing out. If more people are investing, it goes up. If more people are cashing out, it goes down. At the end of the day, you're dealing with nothing. It's like it's kind of like Rook's saying, it's kind of like paper money in that its value is only good enough based on who's using it. If no one's using it, like the franc, the old French coin, you can get a suitcase full of 10 million francs. It's not worth dick because they don't use that anymore.
Right. You can't go to the fucking grocery store and pay for francs with francs.
So here's the other end of it. Rook's coming at it from a technologically advanced way of doing things. It's not so much the value of what Bitcoin is, it's the technology behind how it's generated. It's generated based on a source code, and that code keeps changing. But it's not like you can randomly come up with those codes. The codes are only created based on that algorithm, which is why these things are safe, because it's all computerized. It's all going one direction, and it has all the footprints along the way that you can't tamper with or interfere with.
Right. I feel like no human can tamper with it, maybe per se, because of how it's done. But, I mean, I don't think this is the case right now. But I bet you at some point that AI technology will be able to do something.
Well, all right, you're looking at it from
we're thinking down the line.
I can say that this, like where Rook's coming from, like the smart contract, that is a good idea. Something that you can't tamper with, that when all the check marks are ticked off, it activates, whether you're getting a bonus, whether you're getting fired, or whatever the contract is set up for. But that deals with outside things like a boat or cash or inheriting someone's property.
But isn't that more like setting up a private one though? Because you wouldn't do that with one already there.
It's the same thing as having a regular will. It's just a digital will that no one can mess with. The lawyer can't fuck with it. The fucking family can't fuck with it.
Exactly.
It's just, that's what it was set up.
You could write tamper-proof wills with using crypto.
See, I guess in that case, maybe there's a point. But other than that, I'm still missing the purpose. I think I'm still missing what's making this so.
I don't. All right. So hold on. You said you were confused about crypto, right? Like what the cryptography aspect? Do you think it's like voodoo magic or something?
Well, no, it really to me just seems like it's just made up. Like
no, it's not made. It's not made up. Cryptography is a study that goes back, hundreds of years. Okay. And now they have cryptography in the context of computers. I'll be a little more specific about things. So, when you have a crypto account, right? You have an account number that is quote unquote cryptographically generated, meaning that code that represents your account number is made up off of a seed phrase. So this particular group of words is fed into an algorithm, and it spits out, without a doubt, it spits out a number, a sequence of numbers, the same sequence of numbers. So every time you enter in, let's say the phrase is sheep, apple, dog, okay? Every time you enter, now cryptocurrency accounts take longer seed phrases. There's I forget how many, 12, 16, maybe up to 20. It depends on the currency, but you have these sequence of phrases that you put in, and it cryptographically generates an account number. And that account number can be used to cryptographically generate more account numbers, right? And so that is serves as your email address for sending and receiving crypto. Then there's the passwords, which are also cryptographically generated. And there's just a whole lot of technology just in the, signing of transactions. And these things, get fed into more cryptographic functions when you're trying to verify blocks. So an account number that's cryptographically generated is fed into another cryptographic function that determines what the numbers are for this block, to identify this block as unique from all other blocks of transactions. And so throughout the whole process, you have these security mechanisms at work. And that it's not made up or voodoo. It's math. It's science.
It's all based on a computer's processing, which was obviously made by some human, though. The computer didn't just make itself.
Okay, but if you use a calculator to add 1 + 1, it's never going to give you 3. The computer just executes the code. It doesn't lie to you and tell you that 1 + 1 is 3.
It's all right. Yeah, it's a lot of encrypting.
It is, I don't. There's something untrustworthy about that with me.
You may not trust it, but it's because you don't understand it. If you sat down and you understood exactly how these algorithms work, and you actually took the time to work with them and see how, if you enter a seed phrase, they give you a list of 16 words to enter, it will always generate the same number every single time. And if you remember the seed phrase, you have access to regenerate that account.
I just feel like, though, in general, this is one thing definitely not to be throwing your entire savings into. That's for damn sure.
Okay, but you're going back to savings and investment and whatever.
Well, that's because that's what this technically is. It's an investment.
No, your view of it is way too narrow. I'm not even talking about the investment side of it.
You were talking more about using it for the will or the other uses for it.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with investment.
That's
the utility.
It's the fact that where he's coming from, it's the fact that whatever you do involving crypto, not necessarily cryptocurrency, but just crypto, it's all generated by a computer, where it's not like a person can hack into the computer and fuck with your account. It's that every step you take in your account and whatever you're doing with it is kind of randomly generated, but with a purpose. And each way it goes along the line, the computer, it's calculations to the point that no human being can do.
Yet.
And so that's what,
No,
there's no way.
No,
Give
You have to
AI
be a
some time.
cyborg.
Give AI some time.
Well,
That's all I'm
see,
going to
that's
say.
the thing.
No.
Guarantee you.
AI has no soul. At the moment, AI has no soul. So AI is too early in stages to become Terminator. At this
Well, not
point,
even
it's
that.
smart.
But it as it stands now, it only does what it's programmed to do. And
Yes.
you know what I mean?
But I mean, if someone has nefarious purposes, that eventually will come out. It's just like AI is not. It's not going to be the Terminator. I mean, I'm not saying it'll never become the Terminator, but there's no point soon that I see in the future where AI will become sentient to the point where it's
I'm not even saying that
it's.
though. I'm not even saying that though. I'm just saying it's only a matter of time before somebody maybe finds a way to use AI to crack some of this crypto stuff. Like,
okay,
because it's all computer generated. Think about it.
No. All right, so you're talking about AI hackers, an artificial intelligence that will.
Well, no, if somebody uses that technology to hack into this and say maybe try to fuck some shit
what are they
up,
hacking into? I mean? What are they really hacking into?
There's obviously a computer that does all the scripting, right? There's obviously, I mean, clearly there's no humans, or so I'm told. So if it's all computers doing this, that's a computer-generated AI's artificial intelligence. So if you could use that as a tool, possibly, to fuck this up, I can see that being a thing down the line. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's going to.
So I think that if you think about AI, right? AI is a tool of humanity. If a human wanted to use AI to figure out, so you have to be very specific here. It's not just going to guess at something, randomly. There are algorithms that cryptocurrency uses, right? So the AI would need to be able to essentially crack these algorithms. Some of these algorithms will not be able to be cracked by AI using today's computing technology. What I foresee as potentially a problem is not AI in and of itself, but AI paired with quantum computing, which is a whole other topic. And you could potentially do it without AI, with a quantum computer that is able to basically throw a whole bunch of numbers at these algorithms at once in order to solve them very, very quickly. As it stands, in order to resolve these algorithms or to crack them, it would take many more years than, from now until the sun explodes. It would take longer than that in order for a computer to crack the algorithm, right? And so it's safe now, but a quantum computer is able to handle a lot more information and to process a lot more information and variables at once. And I could see that potentially being
causing a ruckus.
Sure, but then at that point, every your bank account could easily be hacked. Anything could be hacked at that point.
That's true too.
Develop, I guess, better algorithms in order to defend against that. It's not just, nothing is safe that's digital in that sense. It's not just cryptocurrency.
That's where we come to the crux.
Yeah,
and I don't mean to cut you off, Rook.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that's where we come to the crux of the argument. It's coming back to the currency side of the cryptocurrency, where I agree with Steve on the end that it's not a tangible thing.
Right.
It's something that if the lights go out tomorrow, you ain't got shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's a representative of anything in that aspect.
What do you mean? What do you mean if the lights go out?
I mean, if say tomorrow, there was a massive EMP that knocked out, I don't know, half the eastern seaboard. You can't get to your bank account. You can't turn on your TV. God forbid, you might not even be able to start your fucking car.
If there's anarchy, cash won't be worth shit.
I'm not saying.
Yeah, but not only
I'm not saying quite anarchy. I'm saying just before anarchy, where cash is still worth something. But in retrospect, it's just about cryptocurrency.
People at that point, people want the goods and services that they usually trade their cash in for. Cash don't mean shit.
Yeah, but it's not about that end of it. It's just that this digital age we're coming into, it's the currency end of it it's too unstable.
Yeah,
You look at COVID with people hoarding toilet paper. At that point, people want the actual goods that their cash is traded.
I understand it. At that point, it becomes to the basic, of economics, where it's supply and demand. But it's
At
just
that point, it's demand.
it's there's plenty of digital supply, but there's reality zero fucking demand for it.
That's got a lot of truth to it if you think about it, because it's based on just this trusting system. So what's to say next year, some people, like some of the big fish in the sea, decide to cash out on it, and then the rest of the people are just like, yeah, this ain't worth shit no more. So then for the small investors, they're fucked. Just like that.
The doomsday reality of the situation, if you look at it from like a fantasy standpoint, is tomorrow the dollar's worth nothing. And if you have cryptocurrency, that's the only currency you'll be able to spend. And that's like, like I said, that's like a movie plot kind of a situation. But again, that's possible as well.
But you say
and
that
it's not going to be the case.
You say that it relies on trust, when in fact, cryptocurrencies are known for being trustless. They don't require trust. Trust is like a human burden, I guess, because a person can deceive and manipulate, whereas a computer just executes the code.
If the world tomorrow banded together and said, we want to become one nation of the world, cryptocurrency would be the money we're all spending, because it's the safest. There's no gold backing it. There's no, well, this person is richer and their money's worth more, and this, town is poor and whatever money they have is not worth shit. It's going to be one currency for the world to spend, and it won't inflate. It won't deflate. It'll be the standard. And that's where the future of cryptocurrency could be great.
You're talking like a global,
it's
that's what I think they were trying to do.
Currency, but there's too many of them for us to really sit back and say what's going to be the new one. It's when they finally make a decision of a global dollar, basically, that one cryptocurrency will be the currency of the world, and then that's when it becomes a scrape to get fucking cryptocurrency.
The bottom line too is like this only like it. I guess in a sense it does retain some sort of value, but once again, like I said, it's got to be based on people believing that it has value in the first place. But
again,
it itself, but it itself buys nothing.
Requires belief.
Yes, but my American dollars can buy milk, can buy gas, can buy.
Yes, because the government tells you that it has value.
That's how the country's economic system runs. You know what I'm saying?
That's how the government dictates, that a piece of paper is actually worth something.
Well, it's the same way in Europe with the euro or pesos if you're in Mexico. You know what I mean? So we all have our own economic structure, but now you throw this into the equation. And I guess those other side notes that you brought up, I guess to a certain degree, if you want to take it to that level, you can.
But it's not if you want to take it to that level. There are actually other uses for cryptocurrency other than storing value and investment.
Right. Just the value is the part I have
just because you don't know about them doesn't mean that.
Not even that. I'm not even really. I'm not even interested in it, to be honest, because there's something scammy about this whole thing because of the value aspect.
You don't understand.
No, it's because of the value aspect.
Cryptography.
I can't take crypto to the store to buy groceries.
Yes, and you can't take crypto
to the gas station to buy gas.
You can't take Apple stock to the store to buy groceries.
No, but I can transfer it to American dollars.
Yes, and you can transfer crypto to American dollars.
Exactly, but now you just proved my point. It's useless. Right. American dollars still run.
So stocks are useless.
American dollar. Yes. No, you understand how.
I actually agree with that statement. Stocks are useless.
I don't have any of those either. I don't have any of those either. To be honest.
Okay.
I'm not defending stocks either.
Okay, so all the stocks that Warren Buffett has, they're worthless, right?
Like I said before, all of that stuff only has value when it's converted to American dollars. So for anybody that this is going to replace American dollars is smoking some dust.
No,
because it's not going to be the
case.
Going
to replace it.
Oh, you'd be surprised the stories I've heard about these idiots that are buying this stuff. They think it's going to be the new currency pretty soon. American dollars is going to be gone. I'm like, what kind of crap are you smoking?
American dollars won't be gone unless the government says that.
Right, exactly. But
That's the only thing that gives American dollars value is the government says that it has value. If they no longer say it has value, then it's not going to have value.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's the root in the end. It will not be replaced.
Well, it can be, actually. It can diminish in value greatly. If the U.S., we're coming up right now on yet another decision of whether or not to, go over the debt ceiling. And so if we go over the debt ceiling, the U.S. government is just not going to pay its debt. And so at that point, the U.S. dollar diminishes because we don't keep our word in terms of backing up the promise of a dollar.
Right.
And so that would plunge the value of the dollar if we decided all of a sudden, you know what? We're just not going to
pay it back.
We just print money that means absolutely nothing. And the value that we say it has, we don't back it up. And so if that happens, hey, I mean, we might be closer to having an alternative as currency.
I don't see that happening, though, to be honest.
Whereas with cryptocurrency, you can't really manipulate it because if it's in the source code such as Bitcoin, that you can't print any more than 21 million. Once those 21 million are out, that's it.
Yeah, see, like shit like that, though. I don't see why they just picked a random number and was like, all right, we're going to stop at that.
Hold on. Why do you assume the number's random?
Because you said before when we were talking, I said, why 21? And you said that's what the owner decided to cap it at.
Right, but I didn't say that his decision was arbitrary or random.
No, but why not?
I didn't say that he rolled a dice and that's how he decided.
I mean, that's what it kind of feels like. Is why not 50? Why not 40?
It kind of feels like because
why not 25?
Because the creator decided that 21 million was a sufficient amount to allow for the currency to be distributed over a period of a number of years, while also not inflating the value too rapidly. Like it was a very planned and controlled distribution over a number of years. It wasn't just picked arbitrary.
So in other words, though, he could decide and like say it ends at 21, and then say like 2 years go by, and he decides, you know what, let's open it back up and go to 50.
No,
you don't think so?
It's not that I don't think so. It's that it's impossible. The source code for Bitcoin is available for anyone to go see on GitHub.com. You can go see the source code. You cannot amend Bitcoin but by its own protocol, which is encoded in it, it cannot be amended to print more coins. It can't. It can't issue more coins.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the guy that. Right. No, I understand that, but I'm saying the guy that decided, whoever the hell it was, that decided that 21 million was enough. What's to say in 2 years he's like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't enough. Let's go to 41.
Bro, what don't you understand about the computer code will not allow you to amend the code?
So in other words, you're saying the guy that made this call. It's
hard-coded.
Right. So in other words, you're saying the guy that made this call, once he makes this call, it's final. So that's it. There's there will never be another one over 21 million.
There will never be another one. It's a little more complicated than that, but essentially, yes. After 21 million, no more will be issued.
Which means each coin will be worth a certain amount,
and
that's it.
Yeah, and then that'll be it permanently, I guess. I don't know.
Right. I mean, in the same way that there's a certain amount of gold in the world, and I guess occasionally here and there more gold deposits are found, but and more supply comes in, but it's pretty stable in terms of.
So, all right, Steve, to answer your question hypothetically, if God forbid there was a way to increase the amount, the value of each would go down.
Lessen. Yeah, it would lessen.
Of course.
Yeah.
And while that would give people more chances to buy in, the people who already own would be cashing out because they'd be pissed they lost like half or 25% of what the shit was worth.
Right, because
I don't think they would be losing at that point though, because they're a finite amount and other people want
No, but if you increase the amount of
okay, yeah. If you
then each coin is worth less. Yeah.
Now, So there are cryptocurrencies where the amount can increase, or there's cryptocurrencies that can have, generally an infinite amount. You can code whatever the fuck you want. And so that's why you have to do if you're doing it for investment or whatever, it requires research. It's not just picking a name out of a hat. It's actually doing the research of what does the code say? What does the protocol say? How does it operate? How does it execute? You have to do the research on that.
But it's all based on computer, regardless of which you pick. They're all computer generated. You know what I mean? Just, I guess each one is done differently. Because, like, I can't see the differentiation being that different because these things are all relatively the same thing. Just some have more value because more people bought into it than the other ones.
No, they're not the same thing.
So you're saying Dogecoin is no different, is entirely different than Bitcoin, which is entirely different than...
Yes, Dogecoin is entirely different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is anti-inflationary. It's designed to not be inflationary. Dogecoin is inflationary. They can keep printing Dogecoin.
So in other words, there's no cap for Dogecoin.
Correct.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And there's little stipulations like that.
There are certain little stipulations that has a huge impact on how it is valued.
But that's something easily overlooked from someone not paying attention.
The value of one Dogecoin is 0.000000 something. That's what separates it from Bitcoin, right? But there are other things that attract people to Dogecoin. But hold on. It can be a store of value if it's somewhat stable. It can be an investment vehicle if it gains in value. It also, it doesn't really have any, I guess, utility beyond that, but, people accept and trade them. But it's designed to be inflationary. I think so after every certain period of time, they just print more Dogecoin. Whereas Bitcoin is the opposite of that.
Yeah, there's a limit. That's what you're saying there.
I have something that I wanted to kind of bring up that's kind of on topic. It's a movie about a specific type of, how do you say coin without saying coin? Currency. The movie's called In Time.
I saw that.
All right, so you've seen it.
Right.
With Justin Timberlake?
JT. Yes.
Yeah, and they had the time was like on their wrist, and there was like their time to live, but you could get more time if you steal it from someone or...
You spend time as like cash, and that's if it goes out, you die. And like the whole thing was where there were people who were living so high on the hog that they had enough money. If God forbid that money got out in circulation, nobody would be poor. So it's kind of like the futuristic doomsday kind of a situation where if God forbid currency ever got to an extreme, this would be that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it'd be like the next thing. I see what you're saying. That's just the only reason why I was against currency. That's the only reason why I was like slightly against crypto in general. I mean, if you want to do it for investments or if you want to make a will or use one of the other uses for it, then I guess so be it. But just don't go in there thinking, one, it's going to be a get-rich-quick scheme, or two, this is going to replace the current economic system, because I don't see either of those things happening.
I don't know why people are you're relying on people that claim those things. Like,
I'm not relying on anything. I'm just going by what I've been told because I've been fishing around.
I don't know who you're talking to because
people that bought this apparently
they bought it, but they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
It's knowing what to trust. It's the fact that there's no one universal, Bitcoin or whatever the situation is on that end. But the whole idea of the whole cryptocurrency and crypto anything is a good idea. It's a way to keep things safe from, digital thieves. I mean, it's not 100% safe, but it's pretty much we got at this point where it's not someone can just hack your password. It's like your password is fed through an algorithm and coded like 6 or 7 times. And in order for the hacker to get through, figure out what your password is, they'd have to figure out the 6 or 7 fucking algorithms that are decoding your shit and which order that happens in. So it gets extremely complicated on that end. So that's why it's more safer.
There are multiple layers of security.
Yeah.
See, that makes sense to me, that part, I guess. But
yeah, that's the good end of crypto. It's the currency end. See, that's the disconnect. It's the
Yep.
fact that Bitcoin is a great idea. All the other ones that have, not all the other ones, but most of the other ones that have spawned off of it are either bullshit or like a pyramid scheme where like, oh yeah, buy all these coins and then I'm gonna cash out with all your money and you're stuck with digital nothing.
Basically.
So yeah, that's the danger of it. That it's the Wild West right now when it comes to that. So it's gonna be fucking.
There's a danger of that. However, that is if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint. From a utility standpoint, there are plenty of non-investment purposes for crypto. And there are also security. The layers of security are inherently valuable because that gives transactions assurance that, these transactions are fair and accurate. They're encoded in a digital ledger and verified by a non-centralized party. So it's not just like one company can just make shit up and put an entry in the ledger that is just made up. It has to be verified cryptographically by a number of different endpoints. They all have to come to a consensus, a decentralized consensus on what is the information that is contained within a particular crypto transaction. And it's that consensus mechanism that also gives crypto value. It's not just, you can't get that from a bank saying, oh, well, you know what? I see this transaction in here and and that's the transaction. A bank could be hacked or whatever. Like, you're relying on one interested centralized party to tell you what information is, whereas crypto is decentralized. You can't just make up information without, it has to be agreed upon cryptographically by a whole network of computers. A whole network have to verify the information before it is published, before it becomes part of the record. That has inherent value as well.
All right. So, after this interesting discussion on cryptocurrencies and the different, utilities they can be used for, Mark, do you see yourself changing your perspective on things? Because I know I don't, but that's just me.
In the distant future, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, I don't think I'm going to be investing in it. It's just I don't have that kind of money to spend. And right now, it's really a rich man's game, just to make them richer.
Yep. I agree. I feel like this benefits the wealthy more than anything. But, I agree with you on that.
In the future, I do see something happening with cryptocurrency or something to that effect to maybe centralize an economy or, really like just bring all the dollars and stuff together, maybe to prevent, counterfeiting instead of, you can counterfeit a lot of dollar bills and shit and they'll look real and those are worth nothing, but you can spend it. So with, when it comes to cryptocurrency, stuff like that could be in the future, but I don't think our close future, probably distant future, but who knows? In 10 years, a huge tidal wave can come by and wipe out all of, half America. Who knows?
Well, to tell you the truth, too, and you figure in a 10-year span, there's a possibility half of the ones, if not 90% of the ones that are out right now are going to be gone because there's no guarantee that all this stuff is going to last. You know what I mean? I guess the main big
I don't know why you expect a guarantee that things will last.
No, I'm not expecting, but I'm just saying that's why you have to choose wisely. This has got a gambling aspect to it.
Don't
so
last.
you have to choose wisely because there's so many of these.
Nothing lasts forever.
Well, that's a big fact there.
I don't know why you expect.
I'm not saying I expect anything. I'm just saying you got to tread carefully.
You're holding it to that standard.
Well, if you're going to put money into it, you got to hold it to some account, right? Like it's holding your money.
But lasting.
It's not like we're giving it jelly beans here.
Right, lasting something that's everlasting. I don't think that's a realistic expectation to put it on investment.
Well,
you said there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, because there's no guarantee a name like Catcoin's going to make it in 10 years. Maybe Bitcoin will, but there's no guarantee that Monkey Jizz or Cum Rocket, these are real names, by the way, that these are going to be available
but
in 5 years.
That might be a funny quip, but anyone can come. I can make a crypto right now and call it whatever the fuck I want. Like
I wanted to do that, but these names were ridiculous, so they did it for me.
Okay. But I mean, anyone could, come up with any name they want for a company. Actually, well, there's probably some restriction in terms of registering it with the state,
right.
But you can come up with just the fact that someone, I mean, this is the internet. Like, people come up with all types of shit. That doesn't mean it's good, but it also doesn't mean it's bad. And yeah, you can pick out like a few bad names that random people have just come up with, because it's relatively simple to, if you have the technological know-how, to create a cryptocurrency. But just because you can, that doesn't mean that just because people come up with ridiculous names, you're using that as a way to say that all cryptocurrency is ridiculous, and that's a fallacious argument.
Yeah, well, maybe not all, but to a certain degree, there is a good portion
by citing names like Cum Rocket and Monkey Jizz, you're using that crypto based on the fact that someone came up with that name. Like, of course, you can't stop idiots from coming up with stupid names, but you can't use that as an argument as to why crypto is not technologically sound.
But you can use that to show that these things won't all last, is what my point was.
Right.
They're all not going to last, no matter how you look at it. So if you invest in the wrong one, you're fucked.
All companies, most businesses fail. Small businesses fail.
See, this is leading to another conversation, but this is where I was bringing the stock part into it. Because, most businesses fail, but that's why you invest in ones like Microsoft, or you invest in ones like Apple, the ones that are going to be in the long game. You know what I mean? So there's more incentive and more reasoning to go buy those.
That's not how people get wealthy off of
no, but that's how you keep your money safe, in a sense, because that company is not
okay. But in that sense, you're leaning more towards a either long-term investment or a store of value, rather than a dramatic increase in wealth.
Wasn't this crypto thing supposed to be a long-term investment to some degree too?
It depends on what your aim is to. Like, someone that invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago is a lot wealthier today than he was 10 years ago.
Right. But there's other ones that probably were around that time that didn't happen with, and they might not even exist today.
No, if you bought into crypto 10 years ago, you are significantly wealthier than you were 10 years ago.
With Bitcoin?
Yeah.
That's it?
No.
Name another one where you're going to get, $30K from? There isn't. Bitcoin's the only one.
30K? Sure.
Isn't it worth Bitcoin like 30K? Yeah, but what's the runner-up? It's probably nowhere near that.
Okay, but a dollar bill is only worth $1, so I don't. And Apple is only worth 100 and something.
Yeah, but didn't they do something that it was getting too expensive?
They split the stock, they split it or whatever. But at this point, it's all just semantics, because the value of a Bitcoin or whatever, it's just a number of saying it's like 30,000 or whatever. All that matters is it's worth a lot more now than it was
then
10 years ago. If you were a long-term investor in Bitcoin, you made out.
Then it worked out.
If you invested in Ethereum, even 5 years ago, you are a lot better off today than you were 5 years ago. Now, you don't have to necessarily hold it for 5 or 10 years. You mentioned how, the crypto market, lost a couple of $1 trillion, right?
Within the past, I think, year or two.
But, that may be true, but it also rose more than, basically any other market rapidly. And so every time, this is like a market trend. Crypto has risen and fallen before, That's like an investment cycle. There's a correction in a market, and there's a downturn that happens in every type of investment too. There's the initial craze and fever and everyone's happy, and then it hits a point where the investment is, hits a peak, and then it drops, and then it picks up again and then drops.
Then it drops again. Yeah.
That's a wave. That's markets. Crypto is no different. But that's really the market surrounding crypto. But the underlying technology, that is something that's transformative for society, I think. And we didn't even get to discuss this week about decentralized autonomous organizations, which are another interesting aspect of crypto that has nothing to do with investment, but has real potential benefits for both individuals and organizations. And maybe we will have a chance to discuss that in another
episode. Yeah, we will
episode.
definitely be revisiting this. There's no denying that, because there's a lot more to discuss.
But
Past
the fact that crypto, if you can't get past the fact that crypto is more than just an investment.
No, I never did not understand that. Like that I get. But like the only thing I still will never really grasp is like the overall value of this thing, because to me it's still based on like this belief system. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you could say our American dollar is one is two, but our American dollar is one pays for everything else. There's a difference.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
yeah, like that you can survive on that. You can't survive on Bitcoin.
And you can't
by
survive
itself.
on stocks. You can't survive.
No, yeah, and I don't have any stocks either. So like I wasn't
okay, but just
stocks.
Because you don't have them, just because you don't have them doesn't mean they're not valuable.
No, but they're both, in the end, they're both things that you need to convert over to American dollars for actual value.
What's the problem with converting something?
There's no problem. That was just the theory.
You actually have to. No, hold on. You actually, American dollars, even in their present sense, like they're not worth anything. It's only your ability to convert them that's worth it. Like if you have $1 million in cash and you go and you want to spend that cash, but for some reason there's an apocalypse and no one's going to give you food for that cash.
No,
because the food.
But you're talking apocalyptic, so there is no country anymore. There's nothing.
No. What I'm talking about is the thing of value, like. Money is just something to be converted to something of value. Doesn't have value in and of itself, really. It's just
that's a slippery slope there.
No, it's not a slippery slope. It's like
when it pays for everything?
I guess you can wipe. Yeah, but it's the everything that you want, not the money.
Well, it's the everything that you need to survive, like gas to get to work or like your food.
Right.
Your rent for the roof over your head. Like if your landlord were to knock on your door and he wants his, $1,300 for rent or $1,500 or whatever the fuck it is, and you say you don't have the money, but you have Bitcoin, he's going to laugh at you and kick you the fuck out. That's what's going to happen. Okay, I can guarantee you that.
But you can't. You might not be able to pay him in a bicycle or a car or.
No, only American dollars. The dollar rules once again.
Okay, but But would you say your car doesn't have value?
No, it has value, I suppose.
Okay, you suppose.
Yeah.
That's something you trade money for your car, right?
Yeah, you could resell it, I suppose, if it's not messed up.
Okay, but you trade money for a car, right? Why do you give your money away for a car if it doesn't have value?
Because you want to go places.
Okay,
that's the only way to do it.
Value. That is the value. Its ability to do something for you. That's the value. Money doesn't really have value. I mean, I guess you could argue that it
allowed you to make that transaction. They give you that value.
No,
you can't get a car without money.
And the end good is the value.
Right, but in order to get that end good, you need American dollars to get to it.
No, not necessarily.
How are you going to buy a car without American dollars?
You can
barter. In America. You said you could rob it? What did you say?
No, I said you can barter. I guess you could rob it too. But
I guess you could rob it too. That's true.
I'll take that shit from you. No, but like you can barter. Like if you have an older car, you could trade your car in for credit towards a new car.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Right. So your car has value.
Yeah.
In theory, if it's not a piece of shit.
Right. It's not all banged up with the muffler hanging. You know what I mean? Right.
Your car has value. Things have value.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying I ever disagreed on that. Just I still think things have value, But in order to get those things of value, you have to put money into it to get it. It doesn't just, you can't just create it. You know what I mean?
No. But all money represents is a store of value. It's not value in and of itself. It's a store of value. It represents value, but it's not value itself.
It can be traded for things of value too.
It's like someone gave you something in exchange for something, and you don't want to immediately spend your labor, what you earned from your labor, on something else. Like you don't have an immediate need, or, like if you say worked at Denny's or something, and, they could pay you in meals and put a roof over your head, and they could give you a car, and they could basically provide for all your needs. And maybe they'll give you a little other money, but if they provided basically everything that you needed to live, then
you're saying they wouldn't have to pay you.
Right. They wouldn't necessarily have to pay you. You could agree to work for them for those goods.
And food and shelter, say. Yeah, I see, but no one's going to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's not entirely true. There was those Ford towns where, they built housing, and, so it was basically a self-contained like society.
No kidding. I didn't even know about that. Really?
Yeah. So like, basically the company provided for everything for people.
It gave you food and shelter, and that was it. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So, but all money allows you to do is to defer that spending of what you earned. That's all money allows you to do. It's to defer spending what you already earned to a later date, or so that you could pick and choose what you want. And it's not just immediately exchange with the person from who you earned it, because they might not have what you want. Exactly.
Right. He's giving it to you, and it's up to you to spend it on what you need to live.
Before money, people bartered. Like if you grew crops and someone else herded sheep, you could trade your crops for sheep.
I see what you're saying there.
But let's say I'm a vegetarian and I don't want sheep. Well, instead,
could have the tomatoes.
So that doesn't mean I could still sell my crops to the sheep herder, but he'd give me money, and I could go spend that money on whatever I wanted.
Right.
It doesn't have to be lamb chops.
No, it could be whatever you want. It could be pork chops.
Right. That's all that money allows you to do. It's to defer the decision to spend what you earned on something. That's all money is. The real things of value are the things that we trade money for. That's the real value.
That's our show for this week, everyone. Strange Planet will have new episodes on YouTube every Friday. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.